I was reading in a book last night it's a Harvard Business Review. Okay, so the book is just full of different articles about, and basically these are almost like small little thesis statements from each individual Harvard business student. Like, and they went through and they picked the students that had the biggest impact and whose thesis statements and whose articles that they wrote had the most, I guess you could say, like impact, or they had the most influence, and were the most spot on. It felt like those articles were just really great articles and applicable, articles in our day and age. And the whole book is about mental toughness. It's about it's about mastering your mind. And the article that I was reading last night was talking about basically cognitive development and growth in your brain, and how in the beginning, in like back in ancient times, back when Socrates and Galileo and all these masterminds of their generation were alive, they thought that basically our minds were just a deteriorating organ. Our brains were. Okay. So everything was very focused on physicality, on our bodies, because they believed that there wasn't really a lot of exercise, essentially.
For your brain.
For your brain. Yeah. And the article talked about Winston Churchill, and it talked about how, one of his like rites of passage was how he thought that you should have alcohol and a cigar before, during, and after every meal. Okay. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Before and during and after every
That's
meal.
hilarious.
And he made that's a quote of his, and I don't know if y'all know this, but Winston Churchill was not the healthiest guy alive.
Mm-hmm.
But in spite of that, Winston Churchill lived to be like 93 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Interesting.
90 to 93 years old.
I was listening to a deal about brain health the other day, and one of the number one things that he said not to do was drink caffeine in excess and drink alcohol in excess.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
for brain health.
For brain health, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. We could really speak to this for a really long time, but it's going to be a short topic, because at the end of the day, over the last century, what we've learned is that you can exercise your brain, okay? And that the theories and the philosophies of Socrates and these guys, back in ancient times, and even like Sigmund Freud, who was not, he was more of a modern psychologist, but still, I don't know exactly when Sigmund Freud passed away, but I think it was like in the 1800s or something.
Maybe so.
Anyways,
Father of psychology.
He's the father of psychology, and he leaned kind of more into the fact that kind of our brains almost deteriorated the older we got. And what modern psychology has shown and modern science has shown is that although our brains are more prone and it's more important to develop them in adolescence, that's pretty much a theory that is still very well thought out. It's like, okay, we're the most influenced from our during our adolescent years, and you're getting the most, basically you're getting the most wrinkles up in your brain during that time. Although that is true, they say, and the effects of your childhood and the things that happened in your life obviously influence the way that we are as adults, but that there's numerous studies that show that your brain can be at its highest level of cognitive thinking, of creativity, of all of these things that we think about, our brain gives us the ability to do into your 60s and 70s and 80s. And everybody thought before that, oh, you're going to forget everything. Your brain's not going to work as well during that time. And they've got like mounds of research that show that your thought processes, the positive thinking that goes on in your mind, and how you think, how your ability to master your mind and the things that go into it ultimately is far more important to your overall well-being than your physical health. And essentially you can be the healthiest person alive and look like a Greek god, but if in your mind you're defeated and you can't overcome your thoughts, you will die an early death. It's going to happen. It doesn't matter how well everything is on the outside and what you're putting into your body. Just like Winston Churchill, who thought that he should have a cigar and alcohol before and after and during every meal, lived to be 93. Like he was just one example.